it's another side that like wants to take more, wants to go that one more round, because like going that one more round when you don't think you can, that's what makes all the difference in your life. You know what I mean?
Hello and welcome to another episode of One More Round, the Rocky Series podcast. I'm your host, Ryan. With me today, of course, again, I can't believe it's already been 2 weeks. Katie and Kyle, how you guys doing?
I'm doing great.
Fantastic.
How are you guys?
I'm doing really well. Kyle, how are you doing?
I'm good. I'm off work this week, so I'm living the easy life.
Nice. Good. Yeah, I'm on leave, sort of leave. I'm end of August, beginning of September when I go to my other son's wedding of the year. I've had two sons get married this year, one in May, one in September, so I'll be going to that. Anyways, yeah, I'm excited. It's been a busy day, and we won't say what happened. Let's just say it was a busy news day last night in the States at the time of recording. We try to keep our podcast evergreen, so we're going to have some fun. We're going to take our mind off of certain events right now and just enjoy talking all things Rocky. Before we get into it, Katie, I do have to send you that email. I do apologize.
I just realized that Kyle and I have the exact same saying, where you go, they go. That's funny. We were on the same page today, Kyle.
And we will get to that part today. I think that's fair to say. We will get to that part. Okay, Katie, the email is coming. And we will be playing trivia as well, old school trivia, questions and answers. If you want, we can do the email if you got it, or we can go right to trivia. Which one are you ready for?
Okay. Oh, nope, I got it now.
Okay, why don't you go ahead and read it? It's from Michael from the Screen Nerds podcast, our faithful listener / emailer. He's great and podcaster himself.
Hey, Ryan, Katie, and Kyle. Some thoughts on episode 10. It's funny how Paulie's jacket kind of matches one of his suitcases. It's like he was coordinating plaid on plaid. Also, I never even noticed the bike in the room until y'all pointed it out. Wild. Ryan is right. Paulie is so joking about the meters running speech. It's a well-used figure of speech to mean to hurry up, we gotta go. The tunnel that Kyle was thinking of in Back to the Future 2 is the observatory tunnel near Griffin Park in LA. It's not the same tunnel in Rocky 4. That tunnel is the 2nd Street tunnel in LA. Some other films that have used that same tunnel are Blade Runner, The First Terminator, Lethal Weapon 2, and Independence Day. Appreciate the deep dives that y'all do every episode. Keep up the great work. Michael. Good tidbits on the tunnels. Thank you.
Just for the final edit, I know Kyle doesn't listen to the podcast, but for the final edit, I did take out the whole tunnel talk just because it was wrong. It ended up being wrong. So just to save Kyle the whole journey. So basically, long story short, Kyle, and that if you listen to the edited episode on your podcast feed, which the majority, of course, didn't see the live version. If you want to watch the live version, I've said this before, join our Facebook group. It's in the show notes. Join our Discord. It's in the show notes. And then you get the announcements when we go live. So you can actually watch the unedited stuff, which Michael does. He often watches us live. So the tunnel talk was spoken about, and it was wrong. So I just deleted the whole journey, but Michael came in with some further information about that. So
Sometimes
thank you so much.
It's about the journey, right?
Sure.
It's less about the destination. It's more about the joy we have exploring the tunnels.
Fair.
Learning about the tunnels, being one with the tunnels.
That's very fair. I also want to announce, I'm not really allowed to announce it. Shoot, I wish I really could. I really wish I could. I'll give this much of a tease. Somebody is doing a book, and they've asked me to write the foreword to the book. It's a really nice offer. That's all I'll say.
I don't even have words, Brian. That's a big ask. And
well, it is.
I feel honored to know you.
Oh, please stop. No, it's very sweet. It's a very sweet thing. It is a great honor, and it's a very sweet ask. And I really wish I could plug it, but the individual says, don't say anything just yet. But I'll leave it at that. And when it comes to fruition, I'll announce it, of course, publicly. And also stand by for hopefully I didn't get put onto the cutting room floor of my Tommy Morrison documentary interview that I did. Did I mention what happened to the audio? Did I mention that already on this podcast?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's go into Oh man, you know what? I didn't have it ready. I'll just verbalize this. Remember, I mentioned about a few months ago about that guy who did a strike on my Rambo YouTube channel,
Mm-hmm.
and he was from like some South American country, and he started speaking to me in English, but then he turned to Spanish, so I had to Google translate my English to Spanish to communicate with him. He created a stupid meme with the Rambo picture on a fan making machine gun sounds. Okay, the 3 months had passed, and when the 3 months have passed, the strike gets lifted, so my channel no longer has a strike. Like it's gone. It's come and gone. You're only in jail for 3 months. I can't help. I'm a little bit petty, and I can't help it because it's my channel. You know, you attacked. You know, you drew first blood. You came after me. So I wrote him back, and I said, "Hey." Everything I said to him, I translated from my English to Spanish. So hopefully the translation worked okay. But I said, "Hey, just so you know, the strike's gone. Whatever you thought you tried to do for my channel didn't work. Everything's good to go on my channel, and there's nothing. Just kind of like, just so you know, nothing happened. 3 months has come and gone, and nothing happened. I hope you got what you wanted out of striking my channel," type thing. He wrote back. How did he say it? He said something to the effect of, "I kind of get it." He did some sort of mass, like looking for people that took his meme type thing. So I was one of the casualties of many. So fair enough. It wasn't just me. I think he was trying to say something like that. But then he added something to the effect of like, "Oh, I can do more if I wanted to or want to." So I wrote back, "What is your deal? What's your end game? I don't understand what you're trying to do here." I was like, "Can you just go away?" And he said, "Yeah, I'll go away," type thing. But he kind of threatened it, like, to strike my channel again. Like he had other things. I couldn't even imagine what, because anyways. Because I wrote back something to the effect of, because he talked about threatening to strike the channel again, my channel again. And I was like, did you know by threatening that you're actually breaking the YouTube terms of service? You can't arbitrarily strike people. You're not allowed just to go around. You actually will eventually get in trouble if you just go around striking people arbitrarily. But then he came back with, "Well, I can if I want to." But I'm like, okay, I'm done with you. I just want to close the bow on that drama. I know it doesn't sound as good as I'm saying, because I'm actually trying to do it from the top of my head instead of reading the messages back and forth. But
by you going back to him and saying like, "See, it didn't do anything," it pissed him off.
I think
like,
so.
Let it be, because he could
try to strike me again, but then again, it's gonna be the same thing. 3 months will go by, nothing will happen. You know, but
there's no reasoning with people like that, though. Like,
you're right. You're absolutely right. But there's a small part of you, like, I know you shouldn't feed the trolls. You're not supposed to feed the trolls. I get it, but sometimes you just want to get a baseball bat and beat the trolls, and it's hard not to. Okay. Do you remember where we last left off in questions? Like, did we answer who sings "Living in America," for example?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Did we answer who says "We go"?
Yeah,
I thought so.
What are the colors of Drago's robe against Apollo?
Yeah, we did do that. The last one we did was Drago's lines.
I know, but that was like a way ago. Like it was a way ago.
The last one I have is it was James Brown and then Comrade Big Mouth.
Yep.
And then that's where we ended.
Okay. Did we ask, what does Paulie call the robot?
No.
Okay. All right. Here we go. Questions. Ready? Here we go. Question 1. What does Paulie call the robot?
What does he call him? It something?
What does
I have a guess, but I'm not confident in it.
I know he says "she loves me."
Yeah.
I'm not gonna. I'm not gonna give you any hints. Forget it. All right. So, what does Paulie call the robot? Okay. Question 33. What is Drago's wife famous for in Russia? Banging Sly.
Okay.
What are the colors on Drago's robe when he fights Apollo?
I swore we already did that one. I think this is a repeat question.
No, we got what are the color of Drago's gloves for the fight against Apollo? That was the question. Would you like me to read all 50 questions again? I can. Because I'm seeing right now, just so you guys know, question 23 was what color are Drago's gloves? Question 34 is what are the colors on Drago's robe?
Yeah. You said that.
Okay. So what are you saying?
I'm saying I think this is a repeat question.
Okay, and I'm
in
telling
the book,
you,
like you're not repeating it accidentally.
Yeah, I'm telling you, okay, let me say that again. Question 23 was Drago's gloves.
Okay.
34 is Drago's robe. Okay. How's that the same question? Am I?
It's not. No.
Am I going crazy? Is that the same question?
That's not. I thought what you were saying now. What number are we on now, essentially?
We're on number 34.
Okay, then never mind.
I had the same thought as you, Katie. For some reason, I also remember answering something like that. But
yes, and the like that is Drago's. Guys, it's okay. You're remembering very closely, but it's two different pieces of clothing. That's all.
Yeah, I swore it wasn't gloves, though, but whatever.
Well, memory is
matter.
a tricky thing. We don't.
It
have
is.
to,
You're
like,
right.
unless the print has changed somehow in my book. I'm telling you what I'm reading here. I'm not making this up. So I'm going to go back to the audio file when I edit this. I'm going to see if I can find it.
For Christ's sake, it's just like this other thing with this Spanish guy.
I can't. Well, it's because you know what? I'll tell you what it is. And this, take no offense. This is what it tickles me. You're right, Kyle. What it is I hate it when you're right and when people are wrong. They poo-poo you even after you've proven that you're right. They then poo-poo the whole conversation. Not to say you're necessarily doing that. Like that guy who struck me for no reason. He was wrong. I was right. And then I proved to him nothing happened. And I hate it when people get away with being wrong and you, the person who was quote unquote correct, this gets poo-pooed. And so I'm telling you guys, no offense, you're wrong. We have not been asked this question before. I'm proving it to you by reading the print. You guys are like, no, I'm pretty sure. Do you get what I'm saying?
Do you remember us asking that question though about the road?
Yeah, I know. Well, here's what I think.
I just do that to with Ryan.
But hey, Ryan, no, you're right. You're right. But what is also possible? Do you think it's possible that you mistakenly asked when the actual question was gloves?
That's why I said I'll go back and listen to the audio. That's why I said I'll go back and listen to the audio. See, I love it. You guys have been proven wrong in this moment. You can't let it go. And then you gaslight me saying, Ryan, you're crazy. You're crazy going on and on about this for being
we're not. I'm not saying you're crazy. I'm just saying it is odd that both Kyle and I remember it that way.
Yes, sure. I agree. That could be an odd thing. You're right.
Well, also audio files get corrupted sometimes.
Oh,
like how do we know that Ryan says he looked over the audio file, but then
and I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna re-edit. I'm gonna put my voice over top.
Yeah.
What color were Drago's gloves?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. You can't trust it.
Okay, so today the question is, what color are Drago's robe?
We should get this right since we've been asked it before. So
I know, but it's funny.
I remember. You know what's funny? I got the gloves wrong. You know why? That's why I remember that because I think I said I won't say the color because I think it's the robes. But I said the color of the gloves, and I got it wrong because I believe his gloves were either red or white, and I said a different color. I'll just leave it at that.
I got this question wrong too, and I'm still not certain.
Oh my God! Okay, you know what? It's final. I'm going back, and I'm going to find the audio because I can't handle this. It's going to be inserted right now. What color are Drago's gloves for the fight against Apollo? This is where I hopefully get some points back. What color are Drago's gloves for the fight against Apollo? I put yellow.
I think they're red.
I put red.
Okay, I suck. Boy.
What does the answer say? Does it say red?
It's red, isn't it?
Yeah, I gave away by saying that I suck.
Okay, I want to just make a side. ...
If I was wrong or right, we'll find out. But I'm just saying, if I can't find the audio, then I'm sorry to the listeners who just heard nothing because I couldn't find the audio. But I have to go back and figure out what episode that was. Okay, next question. Who says what a depressing vacation?
I think we've been asked this one too.
Oh, stop it. Last question. Name one. Oh, wow, that's easy. Name one of Apollo's nicknames. There you go. Wow, he made it easy. We had to do 10 lines of dialogue for one question. We only have to name one nickname. There we go. Those are the 5 questions. We'll answer them at the end of the episode. Oh, you guys are killing me. Okay, ready? That's it. I think that's everything. Any Sly news or anything that you guys can think of or anything that's come up? The Sly book is coming out. I'm half tempted when a Sly book, audiobook, hopefully it's an audio. That's the thing. I don't know if it's going to be an audiobook, but if that book comes out, I wouldn't mind doing some sort of, I'll probably even just do it on my own, but just for our listeners, I might do some sort of chapter by chapter breakdown. I might do something of like, I don't know, not to call out like a truth versus not truth stories, but just kind of like, this is new information that I, as a Sly fan, my whole life didn't know versus, oh, I never knew that. Maybe discussion. I don't know. It might be a fun thing to kind of go through of just, yeah, you know, I'll read the book so you don't have to type thing. Tulsa King 2 is coming out very soon, folks. So stay tuned for that. So we're going to start off with Kyle. This is the director's cut right away. We're starting with the director's cut because the scene after he's with his son in the bed, as we know in the original cut, he goes right to the car, but we already discussed that scene of him looking up at Adrian from the vehicle. So now here is the scene that takes place before that moment in the Rocky universe that we didn't see in the original cut. We're now going to see in the director's cut. So I'm very curious what Kyle thinks of this scene.
Rocky.
Oh, I guess this is it.
I can't make you stay.
Yes, I gotta go. I gotta go.
Rocky, please.
Adrian. Adrian, listen.
Okay, before we get to that part, I just want to plug a couple things here because you know what? I'm allowed to. So I actually have another podcast right now, and I'm going to put it in the show notes of these episodes from now on because I need people to listen to this other podcast. I do a podcast. It's a mini series podcast on the films directed by Edward Zwick. And I think it's a fun podcast that I do. And Katie's already guested on a few episodes. And we just recorded the Legends of the Fall episode. By the time this is out, maybe the Legends of the Fall will be out. I'm not sure, but I'll still plug the podcast. There was a scene, Katie, if you remember, in that movie, Legends of the Fall, where Tristan is saying goodbye to Susanna and she's begging him not to leave. And this reminded me, this whole sequence reminded me of that whole, I don't know if you got that right away.
Yeah, good point.
Okay. Katie was a guest on that. Kyle, have you seen Legends of the Fall?
No.
Oh,
Really? Oh.
Remember, he's younger than us too, right?
Well, but I mean, it was a pretty big movie.
What year were you born again, Kyle?
84.
So he was 10 when it came out, so it definitely would have been too young to see it. It's funny though. There are films where,
but just
you're
over
born
time,
at a certain age, over time, sure, but you're still born at a certain age where you miss it, and then you become an adult. This time kind of goes on, and you'd be surprised what films I haven't seen yet. We've talked about it. Like I still haven't seen Raging Bull, for example.
I know that is a surprising one.
It is because I'm a huge Martin Scorsese fan.
Yeah,
like I've seen the majority of his films, and and
it's a boxing movie, you know.
Yeah, I know, and I love Robert De Niro. It's got all the things. I know, but it came out when I was 5 years old, and time just kind of went on, and yeah.
I hate black and white shit, though.
You know what, Kyle? You might be right. That might be part of the reason. No, Kyle might be right. That might be part of the reason. Over the years, like I might have thought about seeing it as a teenager when I was renting movies all the time, but I was like, ugh, do I want to watch a black and white film? Schindler's List sucked, you know.
Sucked. I mean, yeah, I didn't see it until I was in my 20s, but
no, that's fair. I probably could tolerate it now, but people get a kick out of black and white. I don't get it. I only like black and white movies when that was the time that black and white movies existed. I'm okay with that. Like It's a Wonderful Life. You watch that, you're like, oh well, that's black and white. That's films are black and white. But when you know they could have been color, I don't know why it's hard to watch black and white. It's weird.
I did think of another. Sorry.
Yeah, please. No, please. That's
obviously everyone knows, but this is like a week or two after Sly's actual birthday at the time of this recording. So he just turned 78. Yeah. I mean, 78.
What's his actual date again?
The 6th. July 6th.
Oh, so he's had it already? Oh, yeah, he did have it.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's 78. I know. That's
78.
There's a chance. I mean, it probably won't happen, but there's a chance he could die before we're done this series.
Yeah, it's possible.
Like in the realm of mathematical possibilities, he's at that age now where people are dying. We just lost Richard Simmons at the time of this recording. He was 76, and he was a health guy. You know, he was a ate healthy. He was fitness dude, but he died at 76. And we just lost Shannon Doherty today too, as well. Cancer, I believe. But anyway, so the point is, 78. But then Clint Eastwood, is 91 or 2? So who knows?
Oh, Clint Eastwood's like 93 or 4. He's pretty. I think the key is that these guys keep working. They don't get old, so they don't allow themselves to.
A man once said, my father said, if you retire, you expire.
You know, my father used to have an expression, to retire is to expire.
There's a little hint of the news that just happened.
Yeah, you can come extremely close to death at any time. Like 1 inch away. History's different.
You can feel death breeze by your head. You never know what
happens. True.
Holy shit, man.
I do think 78, somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like that is actually the American average lifespan for a male.
No, I don't think it's that high.
I don't know. 78 sounds like...
Yeah, I think like the average American lifespan total, I think 79 or something.
Okay.
Look it up. The average American lifespan is only 76 years old.
I told you.
It's gone down. I swear it used to be 78.
I just Googled male and it said the same thing, but that doesn't make sense because American women had a life expectancy of 79 years compared to men's, which is only about 73.
79 and 73. Okay.
73.
So if you identify as a female later in life, will you last longer? Is that how it works?
Wow. Like, okay, so they're looking at like Japan has a life expectancy of 84 years.
Mm-hmm.
Canada is 82.6. China is 78.
Dude, I didn't realize you all had such that's a pretty significant difference between Canada and America.
We're not as stressed out as you guys are down there.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay. All right, let's continue. So, Kyle, here we go. So, actually, Kyle, what are your thoughts so far? Actually, now we've stopped it because I wanted to stop before this next part comes on because it's a funny scene, actually, I think, coming up. But what are your thoughts so far in the first part of Adrian's plea of him not leaving?
It's a very tender scene. When I put myself into that, I'd have a hard time saying no to her.
Yeah.
Even though the meter's running?
Yeah.
Yeah. But then it's like you've also committed. This is set in motion. And it's kind of one of those things in life where you have to force yourself to do something. Like there's so certain times in life when you have to do something uncomfortable, but you know it's like the right thing to do. Whether it actually is or not, it's another thing. But in your mind, you know it's the right thing to do. And I think for Rocky, definitely is one of those things where I'm sure he feels like shit because the last thing he wants to do is disappoint Adrian, and especially when she's being like this. Like, I'm sure there's a big part of him that's like, okay, I'll stay. Like, like you're the most important thing. Another part of him is like, no, I got to do this. Yeah, it's not a bad scene. I would have been okay with this scene staying in the film for sure.
Now he says, remember a long time ago? Okay, so here we go, Kyle.
Oh, God. Yes.
When did Rocky's two events take place? Remember when he was talking to Adrian in the bedroom? I never asked you to stop me.
Let's just go by the timeline they give us. We're in 1985.
Okay, sure. Okay.
Notwithstanding all the other things that don't make sense. I don't know what he's saying a long time ago, but if it's
Rocky 2 events.
Okay.
He's about to say
it'd be 1976. So it'd be 9 years ago.
Okay, long time. I guess 9 years could be a long time ago. But this is the Rockyisms. I love a long time ago. It
is interesting. Like, I've been married. It'll be 16 years in August, and so it's like 9 years. That is a while, but it's like my wife and I talk about stuff that happened longer ago than that.
I've been married 14 years. I still don't reference anything from our past. Like when the twins were born 10 years ago, a long time ago, the twins were born. That sounds weird. Well, yeah, it was 10 years ago, but I don't think I'd reference 10 years even as a long time ago. But anyways,
agreed.
It is
a Rockyism. The only thing I could think of that may make it seem like a long time ago, even though it's not, is their lifestyle has changed so much. Like, I think when you live in this house and stuff like that, just the thought of being in the old neighborhood just seems like a different time in your life. And it kind of artificially makes it seem like a long time ago. I agree with you, Ryan. I think it's just Rocky's like that.
Now, this is interesting, that Sly. Now, remember, Kyle and Katie, of course, that Sly put this back in. So he's like, I wish I never took this out. This is one scene where I'm like, wow, in 2022 or 3 or whatever, 2022, he put this back in. Okay, here we go. Let's check it out.
Yeah, it's wild.
A long time ago, I once said to you, I never asked you to stop being a woman. Don't ask me to stop being a man. It'll be all right. It'll be all right.
So now she's walking to the window. This is the part where she walks to the window. So why that part? I think he had Sly. He should have taken out that part and just had the ending. Sorry, of him saying "You'll be all right." You'll be all right. That's kind of sweet. That's okay.
Yeah.
Just take out that whole man talk. I wish he would have edited that part out. That's a weird callback.
I don't. Is it telling of his? I don't know. I don't like that. I'm like, is that how he thinks?
Well, probably. The guy's born in the 40s, man.
Yep.
It's a loaded term now. But like the idea of like toxic masculinity,
sure,
which people misinterpret as being masculinity in general as toxic, which is not true. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But it's a certain element of masculinity that can be toxic, and that's kind of in that realm where it's just macho crap.
It's surprising, I guess. Partially, I have him on a pedestal, and I shouldn't. But he has 3 daughters that are. I mean, he seems to live a pretty modern life, and that they would school him on things, but
he does have an ego, of course, and that's fine. I just found that part of all the insertions back in. I was like, ooh, that's an interesting one to put back in. Because it's a weird callback to a cringy line that we've talked about from part 2, even today. Like it doesn't age well. That line, here's the thing, that line doesn't age well in the 2020s. So the fact that Sly and anyone around him was like, didn't say slimy, because that line doesn't age well in part 2. Why would you reinvestigate it later? It's odd that you would double down on it.
Let's play other lines he could have said, wrong answers only. Remember a long time ago I said, wish me luck, I'm gonna need it. And then just walks away.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good.
Something like that. Yeah, that'd be a fun. I'd have to think about it, but you could. What are some callback lines? Remember when I took you to the zoo?
Yeah. She's like, don't leave. He's like, remember that time you wanted to leave and I backed you into a corner?
Yeah, right? Exactly. We're talking about the things you're not supposed to say today. That's the game. Remember when I essayed you in that corner? Yeah, I know. It is funny. He's doubling down on something that hasn't aged very well, so I find that funny. Okay.
Additionally, there's also something wrong with that scene. I mean, I know what he means, but he's like, you'll be all right. You'll be all right. She's not concerned about her not being able to deal with him being away.
Point. Yeah, that's a good point.
I don't think this is necessarily true, but like, I'm wondering if he's like, you'll be all right. Like, even if in his mind, like, even if something does happen to me, you'll eventually be okay, which is up.
Yeah.
If he actually did think that, but
So now he's walking to the car, and this scene makes a little bit more sense. Now he looks up at Adrian. This scene makes more sense now. So this is where it works, having that scene inserted, because they just had that conversation, and then now it doesn't seem so angry anymore. It doesn't seem angry at all anymore. Because before it seemed more like, oh, they're not talking to each other. There's some tension in the house. Like now it's like, okay, well, she's still not crazy about him going, but at least there's no feeling of, oh, she's pissed off or she's angry. Okay, well, why don't we'll go to the original cut. So I'm not going to play the song. We know Burning Heart kicks in, blah, blah, blah. We know the song. I'm just going to mute it for copyright issues.
And it's a Russian plane, I think, or whatever there's Russian words on it.
It's an old plane. It's a propeller plane.
I think we're led to believe it might be like a military flight, which we do in our military, and I know the U.S. does it as well. They fly their troops out in these planes that aren't commercial. So I bet you it's like a military type plane flying from the U.S. here, or this was from, who knows, Moscow. This is just a plane. Like, Russia's a big country. We don't know necessarily. I don't know do we know where he landed?
Kind of. There's a sign on a building when he leaves. Because I know the Russian characters, so I moved it into English characters. And I asked my Ukrainian friend, is this a place? And he said, no, but it's really close to a place in Siberia called Krasnoyarsk, which is way out there.
A remote area of Russia where he's training out in the wilderness is remote. So that's why I think this plane wasn't what they flew in from America. Maybe.
No, it's from Moscow, wherever they flew into like Moscow, right. Probably. And then this is the smaller plane.
Yeah.
I always envisioned it being like a military flight, all the same, because there's military everywhere around. This is a good shot. I don't know why, even if the original cut of his back coming out. I like the over the shoulder shot of this is Sly, but behind the camera, behind Burt Young coming out of the plane. I always like that. We're getting the point of view of Paulie coming out of the plane.
What a horrendous flight. This is Russia? Don't look so tough, Rock.
But then he talks about this is Russia. So I think there's a combination of we're led to believe he hasn't seen Russia yet. So I don't know. We're getting too much into the itinerary of things, but I think real world, we're right. They would fly into Moscow and then do a connecting flight to somewhere remote. But I think in the world of the movie, they just flew from the U.S. to Russia on a Russian plane because now they're seeing it for the first time.
Mm-hmm. I love his hat.
This is probably peak Sly. This whole movie is peak Sly, and we're all going to be a peak. I peaked probably 20 years ago. We're all going to be at some peak in our physical form. We all get older. It's too bad we got to get old, Stallion. I would say for Stallone and for the Rocky character, or for Stallone, he just looks amazing in this film. He just really is peak looking here. Yeah, but it really occurred to me watching this again. It is kind of insane that this is the same character that is in Rocky Part 1. You know what I mean? This is the same. Get what I'm saying here? There's a part of me, this guy was literally drinking raw eggs, trying to get up the stairs at the Philadelphia Art Museum just a few films ago. And now he's in Russia. It is ridiculous. So this is where if you look at it objectively, not objectively, it is ridiculous that we're here in the series, that we're actually in Russia. Like if you were to tell 1976 viewers of the film Rocky, hey, you enjoyed the film? Yeah. Well, just think in 9 years, you'll get to see the same character fighting a 7-foot giant in Russia. And they're like, what are you talking about? You get what I'm saying? The jump is...
Part of me wanted them to stop making movies after the first one. It's like the idea that it just kind of kept escalating and escalating and escalating.
And that's why 5 was made.
Yeah.
The way it
yeah,
was.
exactly. Part of me likes that there was multiple movies, don't get me wrong, or else, I wouldn't be here.
Of course.
But it is ridiculous.
I've always known it, is what I'm saying. Like, we've always known it. But part of me, it just kind of like objectively hit me like, oh yeah, I'm watching this character talking to the Russian handlers. It's like this guy was just drinking raw eggs a few years ago. And
yes, you're correct. I mean, you're both correct. It is ridiculous. However, you could have never foreseen this whole Cold War situation, like what was going on in the mid 80s between America and Russia. So it's not that.
Well, it's Sly's answer to the Cold War. We understand that.
Cold War has been going on forever, right? Sly was basically born at the beginning of the Cold War.
The mid 80s had like some extra tensions, it seems, with the Soviet Union and America. And it's not that out of the world that some Soviet dude would want to come show his chops.
You're right about the world. The world events are going to happen regardless if Rocky exists or not as a film. It's just crazy that this character is still he's still in Russia talking to Dracula. Okay, so let's continue. And the use of Burning Heart throughout this sequence is really well done. It is very well done. It's very effective.
Mr. Balboa, здравствуйте. We take you to quarters now. Пожалуйста.
Hey, when does the sun come up? This is detrimental to my sinuses.
Okay, number 1, it snows in Philly all the time. Number 2, it is very bright out. I don't know what he's talking about, but it's just Paulie.
It's cloudy.
The sun is up. It's behind clouds, Paulie. It's just, he should have said, when do the clouds go away, maybe? Or when does it stop snowing? I'm sorry. I'm just like, the sun is up. It's very bright out.
Okay. I always found this funny as a kid because this looks like where I'm from. like the really super cold weather and snow all the time. And I'm quite far north. Like I'd be as far north as Russia. Like I never found this to be extreme kind of weather. And then Paulie makes this comment, when does the sun come up? It is a dumb comment considering it's like broad daylight. But it's almost like when someone wrote this, they were thinking about, because this is winter, like in Russia or like far north is where I am, it gets dark like really early in the winter. Peak winter, it could get dark at like 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Yep. If they showed up at like 4 o'clock in the afternoon and it was dark, that would make sense. Or Paulie's like, when does the sun come up here? Like, what the hell is this?
Looks like it might be 11 a.m. here or 12.
Yeah, it could be like it could be like 9 in the morning and it's still dark and he's like, what the hell is going on?
I think it's just to indicate that he's in a foreign land. It's a foreign land. Doesn't Philly get cold?
Yeah, but I think it's not
like this.
Yeah, not like snowing constantly. It is probably pretty far north in Russia, like where it probably is. They probably do have months of the year where it is dark all the time.
Yeah, absolutely. I know. It's just funny. You're right, but it's not like he's never seen snow or overcast before. But okay,
it's Paulie. He's our comic relief in this film.
Oh, he's hilarious.
They look at the Soviet flag there, and it is kind of one of those moments where shit just got real. If you're in a situation where you go somewhere, but like you like kind of know in practice, okay, this is where I'm going, but then something happens, you're like, oh, okay, this is actually happening. I'm now in this place, and I imagine like if I'm in the Soviet Union, I would feel like a little unsafe, I think, because it's like this is a country that is vilified and demonized. It's like a dictatorship. People's rights aren't respected. I would be nervous landing there. I'd be afraid of what's going to happen to me because I'm basically at these people's mercy.
Sure. So now the handler dude is about to let you know what we all say no matter where you live in the world.
Weather changes hour to hour. Get used to it. Пожалуйста. Get in the car now. We have very long trip.
Sounds like Dracula's cousin.
Oh, boy.
I love how even Rocky back then, gotta give Rocky credit. 1985 Rocky being, come on, that's not very politically correct. Come on, Paulie. This whole film, he's been kind of calling out Paulie with your comics. Come on, Paulie. Come on, Paulie.
But he still says, don't ask me to stop being a man.
I know.
They're not being super nice to him there, but I wouldn't say they're being rude or mean
Very
either.
curt.
Like they're all business. It's like a
Yeah.
nice car. Like it's not like he's in a Jeep or some like military vehicle or something very utilitarian. It looks like a nice car with tinted windows. And like I was just on this flight forever. And now I'm in this car on this long drive. And it's not like, oh, it's a 2-hour drive or whatever. It's we're going to be in the car a while. Let's go. I'd be like, how long? What if I have to use the bathroom? Like,
there's a new term now. Have you heard this term called raw dogging?
The young people in the lunchroom at work mentioned this too.
Yes, it's a new term used regarding living your life in a raw dog way. And I kind of like it. What it's doing, you're unplugging yourself. So if you go on a flight,
oh, yes,
phone,
that's right. Yeah, that's what they're talking about. You're right. Yeah.
You sit in your seat and sit on the flight.
Like back in the day where you have to like rely on your thoughts and imagination and shit.
I'm trying to be a better person and in many parts of my life, but I will die forever a cooked dog. I will never be a raw dog. I can't help it. I need stimulation. The moment I get up to do chores, I've got earbuds in, listening to podcasts. I can't do it. I can't go for jogs. I can't go for drives. I couldn't imagine going on a flight and not listening to something. I'm sorry. So I'm too weak. I can't raw dog it.
I don't think you're weak. I think that's super common with people. Do you have, just by curiosity, do you have like ADHD or anything like that?
I've never been diagnosed, but I wonder if I'm on some, like we all are to some degree in some sort of spectrum of something. I might be. I don't know. I don't know how to get that tested.
Hard to. You can. Well, you go to a doctor and get it tested.
Well, I can get it tested in the military easily enough. I can just ask for it. I'm sure. Yeah.
But yeah, I think ADHD or not though. Like I think everyone is kind of addicted to stimulation all the time. Like we're always looking at our phones. We're always listening to stuff.
Yeah.
I do a pretty good job. If I'm waiting in line at a grocery, like at Costco or a grocery store, I'll just like look around instead of.
That's a little bit different. Waiting in the line, I can almost do. It depends on the environment. I don't shop very often. I do find it hard to shop with an earbud in. So I'm a little bit different that way because I'm focusing on what I need to get. So I have to think about, I need to buy this. So listening to something while I'm thinking about purchases is actually, I don't like to do. I have to focus on why I'm buying something. So I can't really.
Oh, I never do if I'm like in public.
If I'm transversing through public, I usually don't earbud it because I need to think about where I need to be aware of my surroundings and figure out, this or that. So yeah, so that's the only time I don't, but I don't shop very often. I actually hate shopping. Okay. Which might be part of my ADHD because I hate crowds. I hate people. I don't like to.
I mean, listen, it's not a pleasant experience for me either, but somebody's got to do it.
So the song continues. The car drives away. Yeah.
They purposefully show that guy twice. What do you guys think about that?
I think they're just showing Sly. I guess it's him. He's the director. He's just showing that they're being watched both by the military, the government, everyone. They're on foreign land, like Kyle was saying. They're on the foreign land. It's real now.
Yeah, I think like the military aspect's intimidating. When I was 23, I did a trip to the U.S. I went to New York, like East Coast, like New York, Philly, D.C. It was 2007, so it was kind of removed from 9/11. But in Penn Station in New York, there were 2 soldiers with assault rifles standing guard in the middle of Penn Station. And it felt weird. Like I'm not used to that at all. In a public space like that, seeing guys with machine guns, they were fine. They were minding their business, but they were watching you. And it's like, you feel like you're being watched. And I feel like with Rocky there, with that military guy looking twice, it's kind of like that. What Ryan is saying, like, we're watching you. You're not in like this area where you could just kind of do whatever you feel like. We're in control here.
That's interesting that that's what you guys both thought. That's what I took from the whole where you go, they go. You will be watched. I always interpreted them looking at that guy twice just to show us that the Russian people are not happy. He's downtrodden. He's like, ugh.
In Russian culture, smiling at people is considered like an intimate kind of act. Like you'd only do that with people you're close to. You don't smile around strangers. They're known for looking sad all the time.
Yeah, I hear that. I'm not expecting him to smile, but the look on his face is repressed. Sly's making a political statement with this movie. So that's kind of what I thought he was trying to show us.
Could very well be.
Not that Russians by nature are sad.
Well, they're very happy.
No, I just mean like they're not happy about how they're being treated.
The more I've learned about this world, everyone's miserable in every country for different reasons.
But in the 80s, that was the whole deal with like Paulie's like, we don't keep our people behind a wall with machine guns.
Yeah, I kind of agree, Kitty, because it is kind of showing that Russia's supposed to be this tough place where like people are all business. Like that handler's all business. These guards there, they're looking serious. It's all business. No one's real happy. It's not jovial.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Now you go to America, the security guards and soldiers don't seem jovial either, but people in general, you get more of a jovial vibe in America than you would in a place like Russia. And I think, Rocky and those guys could feel it. Maybe that guy too, that soldier, he's seeing these rich Americans, like these famous celebrity people. And it's like, I'm guarding this shithole base out in the middle of Siberia. Like, this sucks.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, they're showing that he doesn't like where he is in life.
Well, you might not.
In Russia.
Don't read the Canadian Armed Forces Reddit. People are miserable everywhere, no matter what position they're in, what country. That's what I'm saying. The older I get, the longer I know about this world. I feel like there's just a lot of, and I don't mean unhappy as in depressed. It's just struggles. The struggle is real for everyone somewhere for different things.
I was thinking of writing a book about that. Yeah, like about struggling. Like I was going to call it My Struggle.
My book about my struggle would be about finishing writing this book.
The German listeners will understand my joke. Hitler wrote a book, his famous book, Mein Kampf.
Mein Kampf.
Which means my struggle in English.
I didn't ever know that that's what it meant.
Yeah.
Oh, funny. I'm sorry, Kyle. We're not smart enough.
No, I'm
for
not
your
smart
jokes. Enough. You're right. Everyone is unhappy, but it's a privilege for somebody in a free country to be unhappy about things. I'm really doubling down on Russia doesn't have they're not allowed to say that they're unhappy.
And that's actually kind of true. In the Soviet Union, they did have it where they encourage kids to snitch on their parents or people to snitch on other people if you're spreading messages of discontent and stuff. That was more true in China as well.
Yeah, in these dictatorships.
Yeah, I find America, people are always talking about freedom and stuff, and sometimes you could feel a little jaded when, how true is that? In a lot of ways, it actually is quite true.
Mm-hmm.
Like when you're comparing it to places like this, places that you don't have freedom of speech, you don't have a lot of freedoms, and it puts it into perspective where it's like, even though things here might not be ideal, it's still quite good.
Okay, now we're on the director's cut. We'll see if the interaction is a little bit different or not regarding them coming out in Russia here.
What a horrendous flight. This is Russia? It don't look so tough, Rocky.
Hey, Paulie, what are you doing with Adrian Zimmer?
They look better on me.
Okay. Again, this is another insertion where it's like Sly, for whatever reason, he wanted to make this film more serious.
Yeah, this is weird.
Silly, but he's like, no, that's a great joke. I'm going to put back the joke of Paulie saying these earmuffs look better on me than they do on Adrian. He inserts that back in. That was a joke that Sly goes, no, that's funny. That's gold. I got to put that back in. That was kind of For me, it was more, that's interesting that was filmed, but I guess we have to watch it now. But I don't think it's hilarious.
Yeah.
Mr. Balboa, здравствуйте. We take you to quarters now. Пожалуйста. Get in car. We have very long trip.
Sounds like Dracula's closet.
Oh, boy.
I think there's something else that was taken out there. It seemed like a shorter discussion. I feel like I just forget now. He had a longer conversation. That was a very short conversation. I feel like the first one was longer. There was something else was discussed. He mentioned something else at the beginning. No one's remembering.
It did seem a lot shorter. Yes, because Paulie doesn't say anything about the weather. He doesn't then have to say.
Right. Thank you. You asked the question. He doesn't bring up the weather because the weather doesn't change. Wait an hour. So the weather talk was taken out. To Sly's credit, that's a good thing to take out. The whole bad for my sinuses. When does the sun? Yeah, thank you. See, we were just talking about that. Was all taken out. Very quick to the point. He takes out the weather talk, but inserts the earmuff talk. Okay.
I actually don't mind the weather talk, even though it doesn't make sense, because I think what it does a good job of is showing the kind of environment Rocky will be training in. So it does provide some value in that sense. That earmuff joke is bullshit. I don't know why he put that in. That's stupid. This director's cut definitely failed on this scene.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so now we're going to go back to the original. So they've arrived at the cabin, and there is something very interesting that's brought up in the director's cut. I can't wait for Kyle to see it. Here's the original cut. They're driving up to the cabin. Now, the guy that's cutting the wood, it took me a second to realize, not a second, but multiple viewings to realize, I always thought that was a handler or whatever, but they're staying at someone's house. This is a family that already lives here. It's a father's son, at least a father's son. Maybe the mother's dead. Who knows? We never see the mother. But it's a father-son duo. He's just chopping wood. He's not an enemy or a friend. He's the host of the cabin. So that's kind of cool. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
That's a cool cabin too, actually.
Yeah. Now, this was filmed in Wyoming. So this shot here is Wyoming, and I interviewed him on this podcast. James Rolfe. He was the angry video game nerd personality on YouTube, and then Derek Wayne Johnson. They did a video together on YouTube where they got to go to this location. They found the location.
Oh,
have you not seen that video? Have you not seen that video?
This does not sound familiar to me.
I interviewed James. We talked about it on the Rambo podcast. I'm not sure if you remember that. It was about a year or so ago. Anyway, so yeah, James Rolfe and Derek Wayne Johnson, they did a little documentary on going to this location. It's on YouTube.
I probably did. I don't know why. I have a horrible memory.
Oh, really? Even though you remembered the question on the trivia very well? Interesting.
You know how the memory is. Sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't.
Don't get me started.
Yeah, I know.
I hate it when people are convinced that they're right because of their memory. And the point is, you can't be convinced you remember because it's fallible to. It's one of the worst pieces of evidence ever is memory. Memory is horrible for old people.
Yeah, it's why eyewitnesses are the worst in trials.
Yes, because even if something could be recent, your memory it's no one's fault. It's just the way memory works for old people. Memory is absolute valuable. Confirmation bias times 100. You're just like, I'm right because that's my memory. Well, no, that's your memory. It doesn't mean it's right. Okay, anyways. So they've arrived. Now they're getting out, checking it out. And they're going to have a conversation about the place.
Like you requested, yes?
You requested this dumb location?
Yeah.
Why? You planning to grow reindeer or something?
So, yes, Paulie, I am growing reindeer. That's why we're here. Good job. Again, this comedy, we get it. This is Paulie comedy. This is peak Paulie comedy. We're talking before, I think Kyle's mentioned where 3 and 4 we get he's a comedian. Think about the Paulie in the first 2 films. This is where we are now. Where he's a comedic effect.
Paulie from the first film never comes back. Like Paulie even changes quite a bit in the second film. First film, Paulie is just a different animal completely.
It's true, but I feel like money changed him because he no longer is stressed out. Life's pretty easy now for Paulie.
You're right.
When he was working for Gazzo, that changed his mood. That's a real thing. If you're going into it, I'm not saying everyone loves their job, obviously. A lot of people just do their job because it's a job. But there's a difference between hating your job and like being okay with your job or finding your job difficult. Paulie in the meat factory clearly hated it there, where it was causing real problems in his life and he was desperate to get out. Him like turning to alcohol and being like dark and an asshole like that makes total sense. And then as soon as he was working for Gazzo, even if he didn't have a lot of money yet, like he was doing something he actually didn't mind doing. And it makes a big, big difference. But yeah, Rich Paulie's just living the dream. He's like a leech on Rocky. He's basically a parasite at this point.
That's true. And Rocky gives him a look instead of saying, "Yeah, yo, Paulie, like, come on." He just gives him the look. He doesn't actually verbalize it. Yeah, Rocky's so hot right here. You're right.
It's great.
Yeah,
this is peak. This is peak.
Extremely.
Slide.
To answer Paulie's question though, like why you came out here, it really fits with Sly's. This is kind of Apollo's influence, I think. Apollo's idea, which Rocky never strayed from after this, was that you have to get outside a soft and cushy lifestyle, and you have to go back to living hard. It isn't just training hard that makes you a good fighter. It's living hard. You're 24 hours a day, not being pampered, not being comfortable. It does something. Drago's not doing that. Drago's living quite well. Like he's training hard. He's taking drugs, but he's in a very sterilized, cushy environment where it's like Rocky is going to be exposing himself to these elements. And he's going to be exposing himself to discomfort in addition to rigorous training.
And they're out in the middle of nowhere so that he can do nothing but think about him. Remember we had the him talk?
Yes, you're right. No, I agree. He's thinking about Drago. I know. I agree. I agreed back then too. I agree still now.
I just wanted to get away from things, you know.
The equipment you requested is embarked.
Who are they?
They are assigned to you. Official chaperones, yes? Where you go, they go.
Great delivery. This is a great side character. I don't know this guy.
I love this guy.
Yeah,
I do too.
He's very professional, very clear, very well spoken. But we'll see a little bit of his change in the director's cut. We'll see him kind of react to something that, so far in the original cut, everything's very. But in the director's cut, he actually does do a reaction to something. He kind of gets defensive about something.
So Rocky requests certain equipment, which they provided.
Yeah,
which is funny because he doesn't have too much equipment when you see him train.
Can you give me a horse and carriage that breaks down, please?
Now, this is way beyond the scope of this movie, but like as you see, Rocky is jacked when he's done training. The nutritional requirements he would have to do to look like that, like the amount of protein he'd have to ingest. I imagine he'd have to request, I need this much salmon, I need this much chicken, I need this much carbohydrate. If I'm the Russians, that's the way I'd with Rocky is I'd give him shit food to eat so he can't perform.
Yeah, like they probably don't have a lot of food. Like, here's some potatoes. I don't know.
They're going to do anything to get this fight. Like Rocky's making a lot of accommodations for them by going to Russia and by doing this. They can get food for him. The rest of the populace is living on whatever. They don't care about the populace. Like you think this guy who's hosting Rocky wanted to? There's like you are hosting him now. That's fine. Mm-hmm. So they're like, okay, we're taking all the good food and giving it to him.
Well, to the Russians' credit, they aren't sabotaging, I don't think. Well, we're going to get to the director's cut. There's something that comes up. I just want to hear your guys' thoughts. I don't have a conspiracy theory. I just actually want to hear your thoughts because I'm a little bit confused about something. Maybe it's why it was cut out, but Sly put it back in anyways. You'll see. All right, so Paulie goes on to say something here.
Oh, I have a bad dream here.
Oh, it's okay.
It's okay. This is below human standards.
I don't understand that. I have a bad dream here. That's a weird sentence of English. Am I?
No, you're right, but it's Paulie.
I think he's trying to say I have a bad feeling about this place. I think is what he's saying, but I've never heard that term. I have a bad dream here.
In my mind, he's always said I have a bad feeling, and I think it's my brain inserting the word that makes sense.
Yeah,
rather than the word that was actually said. Why you bring this handicapped man with you?
I actually really appreciate the consistency that Sly wrote both Rocky and Paulie with saying things in an odd way. They have a way of speaking.
Fair. I just don't understand what that means. I have a bad dream here. I have a bad dream here. He's
combining two sayings.
I guess so.
That's Paulie.
There's no antennas. You gotta complain. We'll crack out here.
You have everything I have been instructed to provide. We are finished. Yes?
Paulie looks at Rocky there. Really? You instructed them to provide us nothing?
Let's be done.
There's that shot there. There you go. There's the classic Sly shot. I don't know. The way he's standing, the way Sly is standing as the car drives away, it's such a GQ pose.
Yes, it is. Like, everyone look at me. I know I look good.
So this is what I mean. This is what I'm getting at. I get it. I love this film. Our job is to break this film down. This is our job, folks. This is why they hired us. So is this the same Rocky from the first Rocky film? Again, what about my prime Mick? Would the Rocky one Rocky be standing like this now in Russia? It's just
Sly Stallone in 1975. Would he have been like this? I think Sly has made this exact change that we're talking about. Mm-hmm. Like I think in real life that has happened. Like he's gone from being this guy, this nobody, who is probably in some ways a lot like Rocky, living in some shithole apartment, bumming around, writing scripts and stuff. Now he's this ultra famous guy who's doing all these poses and going vain. It's like, I think money and fame can get to your head pretty quick.
I understand there's a reflection here between the character and the actor. I get it. I guess there's a part of me like, why did Sly still feel the need to write it that way or even act it that way? It would have been interesting had Sly decided, I'm not going to have my character mirror my life. I wonder what that story would have been had he made the character not be who he is, reflecting his life. I wonder if
that'd be Rocky 5, because Rocky 5 is like the first time it breaks. Right.
That's why he wrote Rocky 5, because his life, his movie started to stink and shite, and so his movie reflected his life again because his career
was like Rocky 5 is like a drastic
right. He like Sly's never been poor,
and if Sly didn't go full R word like Rocky did in that movie.
No, but the idea that he's been humbled, that the character Rocky has been humbled. Sly's career was humbled. He was humbled. He wasn't getting. Anyways, I would have loved to have seen the Rocky character written by somebody. I know it's Sly, like basically like handed over to somebody else, like George Lucas did. I'm just saying. I'm not saying it would have been better or worse. I'm just saying. I wonder what the Rocky character would have been like under a different author. Like start off Rocky, the first Rocky as is. But now hand over the reins to somebody else. It would just been interesting to see how the character would have progressed. That's all.
You're right. It would have been interesting. I don't think anyone could do it like Sly because of all these little things that we're bringing up throughout. He is Rocky, and his vanity won't let him be in this. Like this movie, like he's probably coked up, just like banging what's her face. Like, he's like, yeah, I look great. Let's have shots that show me that way.
This is his direction.
Yeah.
He directed the feet up to the face. This is him directing himself. Again, I love this film. It's fun. I'm never bored watching it, but I'm just looking at it really, I guess today is Objective Day, Ryan. I'm looking at this of just like, how did we get here? Like truly, how did this happen? And so it's fascinating in its own right that we're here today. Like this is the Rocky of now. Yeah.
I love every minute of it.
Well, you're going to love part 5.
No sparring?
I don't think I need it anymore, Paul.
You remember that scene, Kyle, for the director's cut?
No sparring, no TV, nothing. How the heck is he supposed to train around here?
You got to raw dog it, Paulie. You got to raw dog it. You get it because he's got nothing. He's got no TV. He's got no Rose Bowl. He's got to raw dog it.
I found it weird that Paulie mentioned TV and sparring in terms of training. He's like, no sparring. Good point. No TV. Bad point.
For him.
How are we supposed to train around? But he ties it. No sparring. No TV. How are we supposed to train? It's not like how are we supposed to live around here or how are we supposed to be here. It's how are you supposed to train around here.
I suppose you could argue TV, like footage, watching fight footage or something. Is that part of
the Rose Bowl? He's even the Rose Bowl.
The Rose Bowl.
I can't think of a single fighter who says, I don't need to spar anymore, though. Like,
okay, keep that in mind for the director's cut. Yeah. Keep that in mind because there is something coming up. And then we'll end it after that.
What about the Rose Bowl game? No room service.
No room.
Kyle, no room service. I bet.
I bet.
Now, Kyle, I think you mentioned on our Going the Distance podcast version of the Rocky series when we did that podcast. I think it was you because I don't know this well. It might have been you, but you mentioned that the Rose Bowl game would have already taken place or takes place after.
No, that wasn't me
because would have been Ruben. Ruben would know less than I do about. So
maybe you had a guess.
But I'm 90% sure the Rose Bowl game takes place after Christmas. That's why my co-host at the time said it doesn't make sense that they would worry about the Rose Bowl game because it takes place after Christmas.
Rose Bowl, there was one game that took place on Jan 1.
Yeah.
Traditionally played on Jan 1.
Even in the 80s?
Yeah, I think
so. Well, it says traditionally here, so I imagine that means the 80s, but I really don't know.
There you go. So according to a quick Google search and what my guest said at the time, it always stuck with me that the timeline doesn't match up. But hey, timelines in Rocky movies, whatever.
I'm finding the date for the 80s one.
Sure.
Okay, so 1985, it was Jan 1. But it's always either Jan 1 or Jan 2. It doesn't deviate significantly.
Unless Paulie thought they were going to be here past Christmas. They're going to fight on Christmas Day and be in Russia for another week afterwards, which would be odd, but they weren't.
I got my comics here. What a depressing vacation.
Now, why does he think his comics are in the cabin already?
He's this ignorant dude from Philly.
I get it, but there's a part of me is like he's gone full R word this episode because everything he says doesn't make sense. Like I understand he's frustrated, but he's acting like no one in the right of mind would think that somehow they're going to stock adult comics into his room.
Okay, so I'm going to be a little bit mean here.
Uh-oh.
Katie, just prepare yourself, okay? I'm sure you're not like this, but I have noticed when I'm abroad.
Oh,
American tourists complain a lot about how it's not like America.
Yes.
So that's like Paulie's kind of an extreme version here. where he's like, why isn't it like this? Why is it like that? It's like, you're not American,
No, you're right.
bro. Things are different.
I fully agree. It annoys me when I'm somewhere and they're like, oh, I'm like, what?
Yeah, I don't get that impression from you that you'd be like
No.
that. And I'm not just saying that to be nice. Paulie reminds me too of like some New Yorkers have a reputation of they never leave New York. That's all they know. Like I think Sam Morrell, who is also from New York, calls them city hicks.
Oh, I've never heard that, but I like that term. That's funny.
Or like Paulie has probably just been in, other than maybe going to like Vegas or something like that, pretty much just been in Philly his whole life and never really leaves.
100%.
He doesn't understand that when you go somewhere else, it's not like Philly. Like that's all he knows.
You're right. He's like, I bet they don't even have room service here. Well, have you seen where you are? Of course they don't have room service.
Maybe they do. He hasn't walked in there. There could be a caterer right now waiting for them inside. You never know. All right, here we go with the classic. All right, what a depressing vacation. And again, Paulie, this was never a vacation. It was never advertised as such.
God damn.
Where's he walking?
Yeah, exactly.
I love that. It's one of my
I feel
favorites.
like his brain was taken out, turned upside down for this whole plane trip. Why did he decide to walk off the packed snow part, walk into the yard part of this cabin in the opposite direction of the cabin, just to stumble and fall? Kyle, give me your Paulie. Katie, what's yours?
I can't. Oh, I'm too like laughy.
Wow. All right. Party at Kitty and Studs. All right. Okay. Now let's just go quickly to with the director's cut. Now, unless anyone thinks I'm being too critical, I'm not. I'm not being critical in the sense of like truly. Here's the thing. When I bring things up, it's not that I believe or subscribe necessarily to everything I bring up, but I bring up things that people may be thinking, have thought, could think. That's part of our discussion. If we just lived in the vacuum of a podcast and always just said, this show is great, this is amazing, this is my favorite scene, I love this scene. Well, there are probably podcasts like that. In fact, I know there are that are so like ball washing of everything that
I think the official clinical term is a circle jerk.
Yes. So what I like to do is I like to bring up conversational points. So I just want to make that clear because we did have a comment where we were being too critical. It's not about being too critical.
Oh, really?
Again, it was a couple episodes ago. Like, it's not about being critical, but it's like we are a podcast dissecting the film, and we're bringing up points that maybe some of our listeners will feel validated that we bring up. I listen to some podcasts, Katie, you know which one I'm talking about, where everything's gold. I listen and I'm like, well, that's not necessarily true, and I'm not engaged listening to this. It's a vacuum. It's boring. You're not engaging me. Challenge me. I want to, as a listener, also be challenged by you and not fight back in my head. But I want to go, hey, I don't quite agree with that, but I'm going to keep listening to what you have to say. And then you send us an email and you get mad at us. Okay. So here is the conversation now. Let's see how it's different.
Like you request. Yes?
You requested this dumb location?
Yeah.
Why? You planning to grow reindeer or something?
The equipment you requested is in bar.
All right. So they kept the reindeer joke in.
Mm-hmm.
Now here we go, Kyle. You ready?
I'm ready.
Who are they?
They are assigned to you. Official chaperones, yes? Where you go, they go.
When do the sparring partners get here?
So when did the sparring partners get here? Now, Tony's asking because he's expecting them to come. There's two schools of thought here. Did Rocky himself tell the Russians, do not send me sparring partners? Keep that question in mind, because I know that's what we think from the original cut. Because if that's the case, that means Rocky didn't tell his trainer, which is odd that, hey, by the way, Tony, all this time that we've had planning this fight in our trip to Russia, I failed to mention to you no sparring partners. Or did the Russians sabotage and not bring them?
Spur. Я понимаю. We provide no sparring partners. Нет.
You're supposed to have them.
This I do not know.
So in Russian, he did say, so I know almost no Russian. Я не понимаю is I don't understand.
So
Like,
is
he's
he
confused.
playing dumb? Was it malicious? Did he forget on purpose? Now we're back to the original cut where he goes, you have everything I have been instructed to provide. So he's now telling Rocky, you have everything I've instructed to provide, meaning did Rocky tell him or did his people, did the Russians tell him to provide this via Rocky's request? Or did Rocky not want sparring partners? Which one is it? It has to be one or the other. It was Rocky saying, I don't want them, or was the Russians inserting their not given to which one?
I'm going to reserve my answer till I've heard the whole thing.
Okay.
Thing I have been instructed to provide. We are finished. Yes? До свидания.
I have a verdict. Russians fucked them. Pretty sure. The Russians sabotaged them by not providing sparring partners. There would have been communication between Rocky's team and the Russians, listing everything that they need, including the equipment, which he already made reference to, and sparring partners would have been another one. I don't think it would be Rocky communicating with them necessarily. It would be Duke or someone representing Rocky. Even if it was Rocky, Duke would be in on this. There's no way Rocky and Duke would be divergent here, I don't think.
That's what I mean. There's no way that Rocky would have sabotaged Tony like that.
Yeah, and why would you not want sparring partners? I don't see that. The Russians are also known to cheat. For example, when Canadian teams have played hockey games in the Soviet Union and stuff, their phones go off at 2 a.m. to mess their sleep up. Some of the stuff they brought in from Canada disappears through customs. They use like performance-enhancing drugs. They're not above cheating. They're not above trying to pull a fast one on someone. This is in their wheelhouse to do something like this. And I think Rocky, what I gathered, just the way he was quiet like that, I think he's just being accepting. He's like, okay, this is what's going to happen. I'm going to do this. He's in the zone.
He's been a stoic, which I like. I love it. Yeah.
So, I don't think Rocky will go behind Duke's back and say, no, I don't want sparring partners. Like, he can just tell Duke that. It's not like Duke's really controlling or something. Like, Duke has a lot of respect for Rocky. They'd be going over the list of stuff that they want. Be like, I need this. I need a punching bag. I need these bags. Duke's like, what about sparring partners? Rocky's like, I don't need them. They probably have an argument about that or whatever. Yep. But at the end of the day, Duke's got to go with what Rocky wants. So Rocky has no need to go behind Duke's back. Clearly, the Russians screwed him.
In this, yes, this is the director's cut. So Sly is inserting this back in to tell us that Rocky got effed over, as Kyle said, by the Russians. Katie, do you have a feeling on what basically was the Rocky telling them not to provide sparring partners, failing to tell Tony that piece of information, or was it them sabotaging Rocky?
Well, I think this is another example where the director's cut changes the message of the movie that we got in the original cut. So in the original cut, I think it's very clear that Rocky told them he doesn't need sparring partners.
That's what we're led to believe.
Yes. And the director's cut changes the message, just like the window message with Adrian. This is the second time it's happened where that guy, Dracula's cousin, he gets defensive when Duke asks about the sparring partners. He's like, "Niet," which is that like, he's like, "No, I don't know anything about that."
My understanding with that moment, before you move on, is that he didn't sabotage Rocky. He himself was told, hey, look, don't at me. I'm just the messenger and provider.
He could have known about it, but yeah, he wasn't the decision maker.
That's right.
I can see it being either sabotage or I don't necessarily feel certain that they requested them. It could have been an assumption. Where's our sparring partners? Maybe they didn't request. And so he's like, I have given you everything you've requested. It maybe wasn't part of the list that they needed sparring partners. Maybe they were like, well, who doesn't? Like, that's an assumption. But this version very clearly shows that the Russians, whether on purpose or on a technicality, chose not to provide sparring partners.
Now that I think about it, I think if this was happening in real life, Rocky would have brought sparring partners with him.
So he could always spar with that Russian father in the cabin.
Yeah.
So
like, you will beat up this man and kill him in front of his own son, just like you'll be killed in front of your son. Yeah, like Rocky would have brought his own, like he would have brought people that he knew were good sparring partners. Because like, are you going to trust whatever sparring partners the Russians are going to give you? Like, no.
Well, yeah, long story short, I think the director's cut, though not the greatest executions I think we're led to believe, yes, the Russians sabotage Rocky, just giving him more reason that he might fail at this task, giving him less ammo to be a better trainer. They're giving Drago steroids. Rocky doesn't have steroids. They're giving Rocky terrible equipment. They're giving Drago the best equipment. Now they've taken away his sparring partner. So this just showing you another layer of the odds of Rocky beating Drago have just increased. I think that's the end of the day. That's the story that's being told with the director's cut. But with the original cut, funny enough, I think the reason why the Russians sabotage Rocky in the director's cut. The reason why Sly put that back in was to make Rocky more of an underdog, because in the original cut, it's led us to believe that Rocky's pretty badass. I don't need him anymore. I don't need those sparring partners. I'm badass.
You kind of assume that.
So now it's, Rocky is kind of getting sabotaged here. Now he still will say the line that he doesn't need them anymore. I think, like Kyle was saying, I think he's just he's stoic about it. But had he been provided sparring partners, he would have used them.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Two things. I want to see if they still show, if he chose to use a different shot.
Don't. I think we just go to this cut here of him saying like this.
It's not the full body shot?
No, it's not the full. See, Sly.
Okay.
See, I called it. Sly even thought himself, that's a little much. That's a little bit GQ.
He said so in his documentary. Like, he tried to make himself less vain. He recognizes that he was vain.
He realized that whole pan up shot of how cool I look the way I stand. It's just a headshot now. Okay, good. Thanks, Sly.
What is that around Paulie's neck? Is it binocular or a camera? Yeah, I kind of thought it was a camera.
With alcohol in it, probably.
Yeah.
I don't think the Soviets would have allowed a camera in. Very paranoid, right? That's probably they have the chaperones too, but they wouldn't want Paulie going out around taking pictures of things.
Very good point. My question is around the vehicles. We are shown there's huge drifts of snow. They have chains. The tires have chains on them, but they are just a sedan. It has always troubled me that they don't have a four-wheel drive vehicle. Why are they just driving around Russia in sedans?
I don't know why.
You know, I know everybody has an SUV now, and that wasn't necessarily the case in the 80s. It's hard terrain to get around in. It never occurred to you guys, the cars thing?
I just thought
because I drive a sedan here. I know I'm not in Russia, but
they got chains on the tires.
If you have chains on your tires, you're okay.
Yeah.
Like, he's not off-roading.
Well, they get stuck in a drift. Rocky's able to lose them, the chaperones.
Well, they hit the side of a snowdrift. Even if they had four-wheel drive, they'd get. Could they get
it'd be higher up. It'd be higher up.
Wedged in between two snowdrifts. You'd have to have a tank to not get.
I was gonna say, imagine they had like they get out with two snowmobiles. They chase after Rocky going up the mountain. They're going like a James Bond film.
That's a very good point. Okay, well, that is probably the American in me then.
Oh, maybe.
I'm like, why don't they have four-wheel drive?
All right, we'll see how this part ends. So Paulie's going to say no sparring.
I don't think I need it anymore, Paul.
So that could just be there of him just being stoic about it. I agree. Maybe a philosophy that I'm trying to live better by and be more stoic about things. You can't control what you can't control, but you can control how you react to it.
Mm-hmm.
No sparring, no TV, nothing. How the heck is he supposed to train around here?
Okay, so he does the so Sly keeps that in, that comedic effect in. He took away the Rose Bowl game comic, so I think Sly realized it happens January 1st. He got the timeline wrong, so he took that out.
He changes this line, though, which I don't know why. Paulie says something different.
Yeah, changes the one joke to a different one, which is odd, yeah.
It's a good place to die.
That's new. So he took out, and what a depressing vacation, so this line makes more sense. He's not referring to this as a vacation. This line kind of bugs me too, because he's saying this is a good place to die. So yes, he's saying this place sucks. It's terrible. It's a tundra. I can see myself dying here, but then he just finished complaining. Why is it a good place to die? It should be, this is a horrible place to die. I can't believe I'm going to die here, but it's odd that he now calls it a good place to die. That doesn't make sense. That's bad writing.
I like depressing vacation.
I like depressing vacation better as well. I don't think it's bad writing. I think it's purposeful writing.
He just finished complaining. Okay, but why is it a good place to die?
He always mixes together two sayings. Paulie just says things weird.
Yeah, I understand logically what you're saying. I'm just trying to, like, I got the Mickeyisms when he's like, like the Bible says you don't get no second chance. That's like, I got that stuff. Like, it didn't quite make sense, but you understood what he was saying. Okay, it's a good place to die. Well, then it's not funny. It feels out of place.
No, I don't like it. I disagree with the choice that Sly made by switching those two phrases. A depressing vacation is better, but I am just saying, like, I think the writing is purposeful in the weird ways that Paulie says things.
I don't know. I can't get inside Sly's head why he wrote it the way he did. I don't know. A good place to die from Kyle's mom, it means you are more likely to die here. If that is what he means, that would make. I've just never heard. I mean, I don't go around spending my life listening to people talk about where they're going to die, so I don't know if maybe that is a term people use. A good place to die, so maybe that is a term that's used. Okay.
I keep thinking of Star Trek. The Klingons on Star Trek have that saying, "Today is a good day to die."
Yeah, maybe. I mean, again, I don't mean to be hypercritical, but these are the director's cuts. These are the things that are changed. There's a reason why Sly put this in. What are those reasons? I don't know. With this one, I don't know. I get why he took out some other stuff. I get it. I understand why he took out the robot. I don't agree with it. But some lines like this one, I would like to know, what did he mean by, like, Paulie is being sarcastic? Maybe that could just be that he's just being sarcastic. Oh yeah, this is a great place to die. Sure. That could just be sarcasm, not delivered very well by Burt Young, is all I'm saying. Then I would have said, like, yeah, this is a great place to die. It was the way he delivered it. It sounded more like, oh, it's a good place to die. Like, it sounded like he was comforted by it almost. But yeah. All right. Well, there you go. That's fun discussion, folks. I always enjoy these discussions. Thanks to everyone who hung out with us for the whole time. It's amazing.
We haven't done trivia answers.
Oh my gosh. Thank you, Katie. Always keep me in check. Number 32, Katie, what is your answer? What does Paulie call the robot?
Walking trash can?
Yes, that's it. I was thinking of, like, after he, like, programmed it or something.
Same.
My brain was, I almost gave you the hint because, like, Katie, you don't need any more hints. Like, I think it's just in general.
It took me a while. I was like, oh, at first. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. What did you say?
I got is my girl. Like, that's my girl.
That's good. I like it.
That's my girl.
Kyle, what is Drago's wife's famous
She's
for?
a gold medalist swimmer.
That's right. Swimming. What are the colors of Drago's robe against Apollo? I put yellow and red.
We did it before, so you should
stop. After this episode, I'm going to find the clip. I'm going to clip it. I'm going to send it to you guys, but it's going to be put in the episode as well because it was gloves, and I think they were white or something like that. I can't remember, or red or something. But we talked about the colors because I got it wrong. Whatever the answer was, I remember getting it wrong. That's why I remember my memory of these events is I got the gloves wrong. So there you go. You guys got it right.
I was giving you a chance to practice your stoicism, Ryan.
I don't have any right now. I'm working on it.
But I was having a hard time because at first I thought, because there's like a primary color, like it's a different primary color in the two fights. And I had a hard time remembering, like which was.
Name one of Paul's nicknames. I'll start Master of Disaster.
Oh, we missed the question.
Paulie, depressive. Yeah. We spent the whole time on that. Yeah, Paulie. And this is the last one, I think, right? Yeah. Master of Disaster, Katie.
Dancing Destroyer. I'll just
that's what I put too.
Dancing
one. Destroyer. Yeah.
I put both Master of Disaster and Dancing
Katie,
Destroyer.
we're on the same wavelength today.
We are.
As always, I'm the oddball out. I know. I got the Dancing Destroyer, the King of Sting. Oh, this is the answers. The Count of Monte Fisto and the Master of Disaster. And there was that one nickname that was said, but Paulo and Rocky were talking, and we'll never know what was. Remember?
It's like the lust of boxing or some bullshit like that. It was like some weird
Punch. Isn't that one of them too?
Prince of Punch. Yeah, that's right. Which sounds like almost like a drink.
Yeah.
This drink's the Prince of Punch. It's not the King of Punch, but it's the Prince.
I gotta say, Count of Monte Fisto is pretty brilliant. I like that one a lot.
Honestly, that to me, that sounds like it's something.
I thought that your mom's on the.
Oh God. My mom was not shaken by anything like that. Like,
all right.
Did you give that one to Kyle, the My Girl one?
You can't. No. It's not the end. I won't take that one.
I got 5, but that's not enough. Katie got perfect. I thought for sure I got her on the robot one.
It took me a while. I have to be honest. Yeah. It did take me a while to come up with that.
All right. You guys are amazing. You guys are awesome. But now this episode is officially over.
I didn't hear no bell.
I just want to say one